stranded in a sinister whiteout blizzard. Discover the terrifying truth I uncovered outside. Jessica peered out the window, the world beyond swallowed by endless white. This wasn't the tranquil snowfall she adored, the kind that dusted her quiet suburb in a cozy blanket. No, this was a monster, a whirling tempest that howled and clawed at the edges of the night. The power flickered and then succumbed to darkness, leaving her and Alex alone in the oppressive void. Shadows danced along the walls, shaped by the wind, casting shapes that twisted into horrors of her imagination. The whispers came next, slithering through the walls, wrapping around her mind. Old tales surged forward, stories about something lurking in the cold, a figure that faded into the blizzards, someone horrifyingly familiar. Nervous chills prickled her skin. Was she really alone in their home? Or was something drawing closer, something from those anxious folklores that had plagued her childhood? The snow pressed against the house, creating an echoing thud that sounded like a heartbeat drumming ominously against the silence. Jessica busied herself, folding laundry, trying to distract her mind from the suffocating atmosphere. But the wind howled and the house creaked, each sound magnifying her anxiety. The neighbors, so friendly just the day prior, now felt like shadows lurking about, figures with stories buried in the four walls of their homes that whispered of darkness, secrets festering beneath their lawn ornaments and manicured gardens. Suddenly, Alex dashed past her with a laugh that cut through the tension, too high-pitched, too excited. "Mom, did you hear that?" Before she could respond, he flung the door open and disappeared into the storm, chasing a sound that sent icy fingers down her spine. Panic surged. "Alex!" she screamed, her voice swallowed whole in the blizzard's fury. Desperate, she vaulted outside, each step a battle against the biting wind. The world transformed around her, a jagged white wilderness. Snow blasted against her like icy daggers. She stumbled, breath catching in her throat, heart racing. Each familiar landmark was gone. The houses loomed like giants, dark and forbidding in the swirling storm. "Alex," she called again, but her voice was a mere whisper against the storm, a plea silenced in the chaos. With every frantic step she took, the reality of her surroundings crumbled. Shadows flitted in the periphery, shapes darting just beyond her vision. A distant echo of laughter sent a jolt through her. Was it Alex? Or something more sinister? As she pressed on, she flicked glances at the homes, decorations now obscured in shadows. The familiar faces of the neighbors morphed into masks of despair and dread. What were they hiding beneath their smiles? Before we continue, I need to tell you something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to their system, and many people are missing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and select all notifications so you don't miss future videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. A bone-chilling shriek sliced through the wind, unmistakably Alex's voice. Jessica's heart dropped. Fueled by terror, she surged forward, fighting through the dense snow. Each step brought her closer, but the landscape grew more alien, the familiar shifting into horrific disarray. Just as her resolve faltered, she stumbled into a clearing. There they stood, figures clothed in darkness, encircling something indistinct, murmuring incantations that scraped against her sanity. Snow altars rose ominously, cruelly marking the landscape. Jessica's breath caught in her throat. Familiar faces loomed, twisted in shadows. The truth threatened to unravel her whole world. In the stomach-churning blizzard, with danger closing in, she faced the very essence of her worst nightmare. What emerged as the storm howled around her, revelations buried deep in the heart of her community. Did she have the strength to uncover the chilling truths waiting just outside the fragile veil of her suburban safety? Jessica's heart thundered in her chest, constricting her breath. The figures, once mere silhouettes, now loomed larger, drawing nearer. Their chants rose, wrapping around her like icy tendrils, constricting her sanity, each word a dagger piercing the frozen air. Desperation clawed at her throat. These were not strangers, these were neighbors, once friends, now grotesque shades lurking in the snow. "Alex!" she screamed again, her voice cracking, quaking against the haunting calls around her. The wind howled, a mocking laughter that morphed and spiraled, echoing her name like a chorus of the damned. As the shadows shuffled, dimly lit faces emerged, distorted by flickering red flames that danced within the freeze. There stood Maureen from next door, the kind lady who baked cookies, her smile now grotesque, wide like a jagged scar. Tim, the local handyman whose hands were as rough as his voice, looked on with hollow eyes that betrayed no warmth but a chilling, calculating malice. "Join us, Jessica," Maureen's voice twisted into a silky, unsettling purr. "You can't protect Alex. He's already ours." Slick ice shot up her spine. "Get away. I'll find him." The words barely left her mouth when the ground beneath her shuddered. She stumbled forward, struggling to stay upright as the snow swirled, creating a tempest that felt alive, a living creature that wanted to swallow her whole. She glanced around. The snow altars, strange patterns etched into the ground, pulsed ominously, glowing eerily with the rhythm of the chants. Each flicker seemed to pull at her very essence, a hypnotic pull she fought to resist. Jessica didn't need to understand their ritual to know it was a summons, a call to something ancient and malevolent that thrived in this white chaos. A chill swept through her. It was a feeling, a tangible weight resting on her shoulders, dread, looming and hungry. She felt their eyes on her, seeping into her very soul, dissecting her fears, exposing her vulnerabilities. She tore her gaze from the grotesque faces, her instincts driving her to flee, to search for Alex in this nightmare. But the blizzard spun with a malevolent energy, and the more she tried to run, the more entangled she became in its grasp. The snow conspired against her with each step, as though the storm itself was alive, sensing her panic, thriving on it. "Mom, help!" A voice, but not just any voice, the voice she risked everything for. It cut through the snowstorm like a beacon, piercing through the fog of dread. "Alex!" Jessica turned, her heart plummeting at the sound, desperation igniting her limbs as she sprinted blindly toward the echo. "Alex, I'm coming," she shouted, plunging into the void, each footfall consumed by the monstrous snow, each breath a battle against the suffocating cold. The figures behind her began to move, their murmurings growing into a cacophony of sinister anticipation, as if they hungered for her demise. "Run, run!" The wind shrieked in answer, urging the shadows closer. A hidden enemy emerged from a veil thicker than the night, their intentions clear and deadly. She burst through another barrier of snow, hope igniting within her, only to freeze as she faced the flailing form of Alex, caught in the tumult, surrounded by swirling snow. His face was pale, eyes wide with terror. "Let me go," he cried, reaching for her. Something dark wrapped around him, tethering him to the blizzard, clawing like skeletal fingers. Jessica screamed, pushing through the icy grip of the storm, but a low, rumbling voice echoed behind her. "Come to us, Jessica. It's the only way to save him." Fear twisted in her gut, but it wasn't the fear of losing Alex anymore. It was the fear of what they wanted her to become. The shadows stood at the edge of the blizzard, their whispers pulling at her like strings on a marionette. She could feel the pull, a dark seduction she knew she had to resist, she had to find a way out. But the true horror lurked beyond. What if the only path to salvation lay in the very darkness she'd feared? Jessica's thoughts whirled as she grasped for an answer, a truth lurking just beyond the storm. Would she dare to dive deeper into the unknown, risking everything to uncover the power hidden beneath the snow? Jessica felt every breath turn shallow, the biting cold gnawing at her resolve. She fought against the blizzard with the last remnants of her strength. "Alex!" she screamed again, her voice piercing through the howling wind, desperation fueling her steps. Each time she screamed, it felt like fraying threads pulling at the fabric of her sanity. With each step, the shadows drew closer, their chanting rising to an otherworldly crescendo that filled her head with an unbearable pressure. The snow fell heavier, stinging her cheeks like a winter's lash, blurring her vision. And yet, Alex's frantic cries were a lifeline, pulling her through. She could not abandon him. As she struggled forward, a splintering crack shattered the air. She halted, glancing back at the grotesque figures now advancing toward her, a sinister, joyless glee illuminating their faces, which twisted under the flickering flames. They united in a chant, rhythmic and hypnotic, a dark harmony that danced around her mind, tugging her closer to their will. Join us, join us. The voices echoed like an unfurling tapestry of despair, wrapping around her like the choking cold. Time no longer mattered. Just her son. Hold on, I'm coming. She pushed through the overwhelming winds, muscles straining, heart racing as she caught another glimpse of Alex through the swirling storm. He was slipping, his body writhing in the tightening clutch of shadow. A dark mass, pulsating with energy, spun around him, and each heartbeat sent tremors through her chest. Mom, help! His voice shattered through the storm again, but this time, the pleading seeped into her like poison. Alex! Panic ignited a fire in her, driving her forward. She could almost touch him, could sense his warmth beneath the icy shell of the storm, but the shadows at her back pulled her away, tugging with powerful hands that knew her fears, knew her thoughts. She thrust her arm forward, fingertips brushing the edge of the hush that surrounded him. The shadows surged as if sensing her proximity. Their whispers turned frantic and harsh. It's too late for him. He belongs to us now. Jessica felt her heart leap into her throat. No. The word escaped her with the weight of her hope. The shadows shrieked in frustration, and the very ground quaked beneath her. The snow beneath her twisted into fierce, spiraling shapes as deep fissures opened, threatening to swallow her into eternal darkness. In the midst of this chaos, the flickering flames illuminating the snow shapes cast a shimmering, horrific beauty. Despair morphed into a seductive allure. She could feel the power, a thrumming pulse beckoning to her, seductive and dark. Maybe it was true. Maybe they could save him together, give him power as they had received. Could she push back against the abyss and fight her deepest fears? A shadowy figure stepped closer, its form emerging like a nightmarish glimpse of a warped reality. Join us, Jessica. The darkness offers strength beyond your imagination. Together, you can save your son. Her pulse raced, confusion battling with primal instinct. The urge to protect Alex surged within her, intertwined with the dark call of the chanting fiends. Salvation or damnation. The hands around her shifted, at once inviting and horrifying. Jessica took a breath, teetering on the precipice of choice, lost between the possibilities. Was she ready to forsake everything she had known to save her child? Mom, don't listen. Alex wailed, voice turning frantic and raw. As she fought to find clarity, something shifted in the blizzard. Was it a glimpse of hope, or the last tendril of her humanity slipping away? The shadows tightened their grip, and as she pulled Alex closer, she found herself leaning toward the dark, hovering dangerously close to the choice she dreaded. The pull of the darkness was intoxicating, but would it lead to her salvation or destruction? The prophesy whispered within the chaos, urging her to let go. Jessica braced herself against the chaos, eyes fixed on her son, resolute. I am not afraid, I will save you. But as the winds howled and the shadows closed in, she didn't know what price that would demand. In the depths of the blizzard, something more powerful than fear began to awaken, something that had been sleeping beneath the snow, and it stirred. What ancient force was beginning to unravel? And could it be the very thing that consumed them all? Jessica's heart raced as the shadows lunged closer, coiling around her like serpents intent on squeezing the life from her. The chant of the figures swelled, each word reverberating through her skull, making her limbs heavy. Join us, join us. They were not just voices. They were a promise of power, a seductive call to darkness that threatened to overwhelm her. Alex! Her scream cut through the eerie symphony of the storm, fueled by desperation. She strained against the icy wind, inching toward him. His small frame shivered on the edge of oblivion, wrapped in a shroud of darkness that pulsed with malice. Suddenly, one of the grotesque figures broke away from the group, gliding towards her, its features obscured by darkness yet eerily familiar. You have a choice, Jessica, it hissed, voice dripping with wickedness. Embrace the shadows, and your son shall never suffer again. Stop. He is my son, she shouted, but each word felt like it was being swallowed by the blizzard. The weight of her fear was crushing. She felt herself swaying, battling the seductive allure of the shadow's promise. I want to forsake him. But deep down, a flicker of doubt danced, whispering to her, taunting her. As she stumbled, the ground beneath her shifted, the snow curling like smoke. Visions surged in her mind. If she joined them, she could rule by his side, wield immense power. No longer just the frightened mother, but a force of nature. Her son would never cry out in fear again. "Mom, help!" His voice sliced through the haze, snapping her back to reality. The torment in his tone burned through her fog of helplessness. Her resolve hardened. "I won't give in." She gritted her teeth, breaking free from the shadow's grasp, moving with newfound determination. Each step was a battle, but thoughts of Alex fueled her heart, lighting a path through the terror. The shadowy figure behind her screeched, its voice a furious tempest. "You think you can escape your fate? I'm not afraid," Jessica yelled, and with each word, she found strength, pushing past the darkness that sought to engulf her. Spectral hands clawed at her, but she pressed forward, struggling against the anomaly of space and time warped by the storm's fury. Her breath carved through the billowing cold, sharp and deliberate. She was close, so close, but the darkness reacted, swirling violently around Alex, drawing him deeper into its malignant embrace. "Alex, hold on. I'm coming." Jessica charged forward, will ignited. She reached for her son, but the ground quaked, fissures opening like hungry mouths beneath them. The evil beings swarmed, their faces twisted in ecstasy. "You will join us, or he will perish." She could hear otherworldly laughter, chilling and malicious, mocking her. Desperation coursed through her, tightening its grip. Just as her fingers grazed Alex's arm, the shadows recoiled, pulling him further into the void. "No," she shouted, her voice blending with the wind. "Fight! Fight back, Alex!" Through the chaos, she felt something change. A surge of energy erupted deep within her, igniting every frozen nerve. The shadows hesitated, momentarily faltering. Hope stirred under the weight of despair. What if she could fight darkness with light? The flames of her spirit ignited her determination, and she roared with a powerful fierceness. "You will not take him." The tempest howled as Jessica braced for the confrontation. In that instant, she felt a presence stronger than the shadows around her, a force that surged like molten fire through her veins, calling her to embrace the truth. But with that realization came a chilling dread. Would this new power consume her, just as the darkness threatened to? In a final, desperate grasp, she lunged toward her son. The shadows writhed, a dark sea crashing against her body, but she had made her choice. As their fingers almost touched, the blizzard erupted with a deafening roar. What was this new force rising? The darkness coiling tighter took on a new life, writhing against the unyielding strength forming from within Jessica. Was it salvation or damnation waiting to unfold? Out of the chaos, a terrifying laugh erupted, something ancient and sinister, reminding her she wasn't just fighting for her son. She was fighting for her very soul. What unimaginable consequences awaited them both? And as her heart thundered, she knew the answer would be the darkest question yet. Jessica's fingers brushed against the cold air, mere inches from Alex, as the shadows twisted and howled around her. That laugh, chilling and deep, echoed in her mind like a nightmare come to life. Join us, the figures crept closer, their chant intensifying, a hypnotic siren song. She had two choices: join the darkness, or let it take her son. The weight of that decision pressed heavily against her chest. Time slowed, every second stretched like the bitter cold surrounding them. "Alex," she shouted, desperation clawing at her throat. "Fight them! Fight!" And then, she felt the energy surging within her like molten lava. It tasted like fire, hot and wild. But the darkness lashed back, biting at her, wayward fingernails skidding against her skin, trying to pull her down into their suffocating embrace. With every ounce of strength, she pulled back, shoving the shadows away with the force of a mother's will. A sudden burst of clarity broke through the confusion. "I choose love," she screamed, feeling the words resonate with an unknown power. The shadows recoiled, hissing and spitting, but they were relentless. "Love cannot save him," the familiar figure echoed, its voice a serpent's whisper. "Join us, and you will have everything you desire." In that fleeting moment, visions flashed before her. A life where Alex was safe, surrounded by wealth and power. No more darkness, no more fear. But at what cost? "Enough!" Jessica screamed, her voice now cutting through the shadows. With a force she didn't fully understand, she unleashed that molten energy down her arms, bursting from her fingertips, casting dazzling light into the darker abyss. It felt incredible, yet terrifying. The light blazed, illuminating their surroundings in stark contrast. She glimpsed the shifting figures, their features grotesque, yet somehow familiar. Shapes of people from her life, faces she had known, friends she had lost, all twisted by their own choices. Their screams of rage exploded around her. "You will regret this." But despair clawed at her throat. The shadows were swarming again, rushing back like a pack of wolves. "Mom." Alex's voice tore through her moment of indecision as the winds howled louder than ever. "Hold on." She lunged again, nails digging into the ground, feeling her muscles tremble with the effort. The light expanded in a blinding wave, and in that moment, the shadows faltered, recoiling as if they had been scorched. For a heartbeat, the tide turned. But just as quickly, the darkness surged forward once more, reclaiming its territory. Tendrils of blackness lashed out, seizing her legs, pulling her towards the churning void. "No!" Jessica yelled, panic sparking raw and electric in her veins. "Alex, I'm right here. Keep fighting." She could see him, so close, his little face barely visible through the chaos, fear etched across his features. Then, the storm shifted again, cold fingers gripping her heart. In an instant, the shadows morphed, their forms writhing and transforming into a giant stepping forth from the black. It was bigger than all the others combined, a mass of swirling darkness with piercing eyes that burned like coals. "Your choice," it growled, the ground trembling beneath Jessica as its booming voice enveloped her. "Join your precious child, or let him drown in the darkness alone." The blizzard roared, wrapping tighter around her. With horror creeping in, she realized every second spent fighting was sapping her strength. She had to choose: would Alex pay the price for her refusal to submit? The answer lay just beyond her reach, tangled in the shadows. What lurked in the depth of that monstrous figure? Did it hold the power to save them, or did it simply promise to drown them both in eternal night? As the darkness tightened its grip, Jessica realized the worst was far from over. The shadows twisted and churned, a pulsing frenzy around Jessica. The great mass of darkness loomed larger, eyes like fiery embers boring into her soul. The chill penetrated deeper, freezing her blood as panic surged through her veins. "Mom, please." Alex's voice trembled, desperation sharp as glass. The icy wind sliced through her insides, whispering lies that clawed at her resolve. "Mommy, I'm scared." His cry ignited a wild spark within Jessica, each heartbeat a reminder of her love, of the radiant warmth that had kept them together through dark days. She couldn't allow the shadows to win. "Not now. Not ever. I want to let you take him." She roared, the heat in her body increasing, pushing back against the encroaching darkness. The flare of energy twisted into a tangible force around her hands. The giant shadow roared, the sound shaking the very earth beneath them. "You are a fool," it bellowed, its voice a cacophony of doubt. "Love is nothing. You think it can save him? It can only lead you to pain." "Pain is part of love," Jessica shouted, every word a battle cry. With a fierce determination, she thrust her hands toward Alex, channeling the fiery warmth that threatened to escape her grasp. A blinding light erupted, slashing through the suffocating darkness like a beacon. The figures surrounding her shrieked, their egos pierced, light dissolving their forms. Shadows writhed and withdrew, the monstrous titans stumbling back, disoriented. Yet they only retreated a moment, swirling in growing fury. "Ridiculous," it snarled, its voice shaking the wind. "You cannot fight what you cannot see. The darkness knows you, Jessica. It knows your fears, and it will sink its teeth into them." Images littered her mind, her regrets, the faces of friends lost to absence and betrayal, of nights spent questioning her worth. The shadows dangled those memories like golden strings. "You will join us, or lose him." The sorrow rang hollow in the deep timbre of its voice, but struck a chord of truth within her. "Don't listen to him, Mom," Alex cried out, pulling at the chains of despair that threatened to ensnare them both. "I believe in you." In that instant, Jessica felt an indescribable shift. The ground beneath her feet surged with energy, the flickers of its warmth grounding her. I trust in you, Alex, she screamed, the words echoing like thunder. Do you truly think he cares? The shadows curled closer, a monstrous serpent coiling tighter around her heart. Tell me your darkest fear, Jessica. What makes you suffer? I can show you the truth of your soul. Jessica clenched her fists, struggling against the grip of despair. I fear losing him, she shouted, raw and unfiltered. Suddenly, the shadows slashed forward, their elongated fingers reaching for her, desperate to grab hold of that vulnerability. In a heartbeat, she felt the heaviness of her fear. The air thickened like a fog soaked in dread. But then, in the depths of her heart, something shifted. A moment of clarity washed over her. I will not give you that power, she declared, disbelief shredding the hold on her thoughts. Fueled by love, she erupted again, the energy coalescing into a radiant shield around them. The distance between her and Alex shrank, their breaths mingling in the chaos. They locked eyes, and for an instant, time froze. She saw his trust, his belief in her strength, and with it, an ember of hope ignited. Together, she yelled, and with their combined spirits, light pierced through the darkness, blinding in its intensity. The shadows howled, twisted and writhed like snakes scorched by the sun. No, they screeched, but Jessica and Alex stood united, refusing to yield. But in that victory moment, a crack reverberated through the air. The light began to dim. Shadows surged back, crashing against their barrier. Desperation clawed again at her mind. But now it felt different. It's not over. A cold, chilling realization whispered through her thoughts. Jessica looked at Alex, heart racing. Were they truly free, or was this merely the calm before a terrible storm? Hang on tight, Alex, she urged, a surge of determination coursing through her. And then, every shadow in the world seemed to grapple with their last chances, eager to drag them back to despair. What awaited them as the light flickered? The shadows were regaining strength. The fight was far from finished. The atmosphere crackled with tension as Jessica held her breath, her heart pounding louder than the chaos around them. Shadows surged and roared, their relentless tide clawing at the edges of her fading light. We're not done, she shouted, her voice a desperate anchor in the storm. Alex, we have to protect each other. He nodded fiercely, eyes wide with fear but burning with a light of his own. Together, they summoned all the warmth from within, trying to push back against the dread that was grabbing for their throats. The barrier shimmered, flickering with uncertainty, but each pulse reminding them of their love kept it afloat just a moment longer. Yet, with every second, darkness clawed through, frigid and sinister. The ground beneath them trembled as the Titan shadow coiled closer, its face morphing into hateful sneers of faces Jessica thought she had left behind. It was using her fears against her, manifesting doubts that settled like iron weights in her chest. You think this struggle is noble? It mocked, its voice now a chilling whisper, dripping with menace. You will fail, because you want to save him, and your love will blind you. Every ounce of confidence slipped through her fingers. Shadows whispered, echoing her insecurities, the lost opportunities, the unforgivable mistakes, the stinging absence of her father. Memories rushed at her like a raging flood, each one a reminder of darkness chewing at her soul. Part of her longed to sink under that weight, to bury herself in regret. Mom, Alex's voice broke through, shaking her. You can do this. Remember, I believe in you. Jessica shot him a look, those wide, trusting eyes stoked a fire in her gut. She could not drown. But just as hope ignited, darkness crashed down, a wave of shadows that felt like a million hands trying to pull them under. The energy shield flickered, flickering against the final push of despair. With a guttural roar, she sought to channel every ounce of her love into the barrier. But the shadows overwhelmed her, airy fingers gripping at her throat, tightening, choking her heart. She gasped for breath, the icy grip of fear closing in. Then, the impossible happened. A burst of vivid light erupted from between them, transforming the shadows into grotesque shapes that howled with rage. A thunderous clap echoed as a pulse of energy erupted from Alex, darting toward the Titan like a comet racing through the night. Do it. Fight back, he screamed, fire igniting in his tiny fists. Jessica saw the shadows faltering, felt their grasp weaken. It sent a surge of hope catapulting through her veins. She drew upon every ounce of warmth, combining it with Alex's fiery spirit. "Together, Alex," she called, forcing the darkness to recoil. "We can't let it win." But just when it seemed like the tides were turning, the shadows reformed a dark tide that pulsated around them, swirling and colliding in a battle of wills. Jessica's heart sank. "Do you know who I am?" The shadow hissed, curling around her like a snake ready to constrict. "I am the darkness of your thoughts, the embodiment of your deepest fears. You cannot escape me." Jessica shuddered, shaking her head. "I won't let you take him." Their combined light surged again. The shadows screeched as the brightness extended like vines devouring the darkness. But the Titan snickered. "You think you've won? This is only the beginning. What if you can't last in the light?" A creeping fear took hold as pieces of the barrier flickered and dimmed. Jessica's breath quickened, dread pooling in her stomach. "What do you mean?" That foul laughter echoed, vibrating in her bones. "You'll see." With a final crash, the shadows surged, the ground shook, and the blinding light around them fractured. Jessica felt her strength wane. In that moment, as all hope threatened to vanish, a chilling uncertainty folded in on itself, stifling the air around them. Were they really as strong as they thought? Did their love have what it took to withstand the coming storm? The darkness was relentless, looming ever closer, and she couldn't shake the feeling that this looming presence was merely biding its time. "Alex." Even as she whispered his name, the shadows lunged, their intentions clearer than ever. What would the next move be in this dreadful game? Would love be enough to keep them tethered amid all this chaos? As blackness crept toward them once more, Jessica's mind reeled. How much longer could they hold on? An unnatural chill swept through the air, sinking into Jessica's bones. The shadows surged, a violent wave crashing against the fragile barrier they fought to uphold. Each flicker of light threatened to dim. Every ounce of warmth seemed to fall away into the abyss. She felt Alex's hand clutch her tightly, a lifeline amid the swirling horror. "Stay close," she shouted, determination gripping her voice. But her heart raced, the shadows on the verge of devouring their fragile bond. The Titan roared, voices mingling and echoing her name, taunts, accusations, reminders of her failings. "You think you can shield him from me? You will fail just like before." Jessica's stomach churned. Was there truth in its words? The shadows snaked closer, whispering poison into her mind. But she couldn't allow that darkness to seep in. Not when Alex still believed. "Hold on," she cried, pouring all her energy into the shield. The light pulsed, illuminating their surroundings, if only for a fleeting moment. But the shadows were merciless. They lunged again, a tidal wave of despair, clawing at her skin, gripping her like iron shackles. She gasped, the air thick with smothering dread. Above their heads, a horrid sound rippled through the air, a low growl, building in intensity like thunder before a storm. "Jessica!" Alex shouted, his voice tinged with panic. "It's cracking." She could see it now. The barrier rattled, splintering in places as if it too was succumbing to the shadows' relentless pressure. Each crack echoed in her chest like shattering glass. An idea struck her. "We have to think. Remember when we fought the bullies in school?" she said, recalling times they had stood together against life's obstacles. "This is just the same. Together." Alex echoed, eyes wide and shining with unshed tears of fear. As the darkness surged forward, a surge of warmth bloomed deep within Jessica, an ember sparked by the love and memories of her son. She closed her eyes for a split second, envisioning all the moments they had shared, all the laughter that had bound them. The shadows wanted to tear that apart. They would not win. "Think of the light," she screamed, and they pushed their minds together, flooding the onslaught with their shared warmth. The barrier flared and flickered, responding to their united will, forcing the shadows back incrementally. But the Titan would not give up so easily. "You think your memories can conquer me? Tell me, Jessica, how long can they hold against the crushing void?" Her heart thundered. A creeping doubt wormed through her mind, but it was raw and real. The memories could only last for so long when faced with something so consuming. What if it was right? What if their light faltered? "Just keep fighting, we can do this," Alex yelled, and the spirit in his voice steadied her. It seemed to work, just for a moment. But then the shadows twisted harder, the air elastically thick, making every gasp for breath feel futile. The barrier, even with their united front, felt weaker. Look, Alex pointed. Above, the swirling mass was forming into something recognizable, a face of twisted malice. Shock washed over her. The face of her father, lost long ago, materializing from the depths of her anguish. No, she screamed, shaking her head violently. Not you. The Titan smirked wickedly. You see? Your history binds you to me. The agony of loss, the love that screams in torment. What will you do now that I am here? Jessica's chest tightened. Memories of regret roiled within her, eager to spill into the overwhelming dread. But then Alex said, "It's not him, Mom. It's not real." He was right. This was a trick, a dark mimicry made of her fears, generated by the monster's insatiable appetite. With a sob and a renewed spark, Jessica lashed out with every ounce of determination. You are nothing. You feed on my pain, but I won't let you steal my light. An innermost core ignited, and the barrier exploded outward like a sun flaring to life. Light reached desperate fingers into the heart of the darkness, but the Titan roared in fury. Shadows writhed, contorting as it writhed in anger. Do you really think this will save you? Came its voice, a promise soaked in hate. This is just the beginning. All at once, a splintering howl echoed in the night silence, and Jessica's pulse raced. The shadows retreated just long enough for her to catch her breath, but she could feel them. They were ready for a final reckoning. Jessica grasped Alex's shoulder. What if this is only the start of something worse? As blackness gathered again, suffocating and menacing, she fought against the growing despair inside her. Something primal stirred deep within, a surge of desperate will to confront the very nature of fear. Alex, she whispered again, panic sliding in. What else are they hiding? And as the shadows hovered, waiting for their final move, she braced for the unknown, the creeping certainty that this battle wasn't over yet. The darkness closed in tightly, thick as fog, suffocating. Jessica could feel her heart race, each beat a drum echoing through the tightening grip of dread. A chilling breeze slithered around her, bearing whispers lost in the chaos, filling her head with thoughts too terrible to comprehend. You can't hold us back forever. Then, a cacophony of derisive laughter erupted from the shadows. It was maddening, visceral, a sound that latched onto her sanity with razor-sharp claws. She could feel the pressure of despair weighing heavier, blotting out hope. But Alex squeezed her hand tighter, grounding her amid the shifting void. Mom, we can't let it win. He pleaded, his youthful voice cutting through the darkness. The shadows writhed, twisting at the edges of her vision. She focused hard, recalling the light they summoned moments before. But the golden glow had faltered. It felt fragile now, flickering like a candle in a tempest. I won't let this monster take you, she screamed, fury and panic igniting in her chest. Like you did before? The Titan hissed again, echoing through the abyss as its form morphed. It shifted, glimmering shadows stretching and condensing into grotesque shapes. A menacing grin cracked the darkness from ear to ear, mockingly familiar yet grotesquely distorted. It aimed straight for her heart, in a desperate gasp. Jessica recoiled as memories flooded her mind, moments of pain, moments lost. But then she squeezed her eyes shut, forcing them away. You've had enough. You're a hollow construct feeding off my fear. The Titan shrieked, a sound that reverberated like nails on a chalkboard, and the shadows bucked. Score a point for Jessica and her defiance. Alex shuddered, peering into the gathering darkness. What if it tries to manipulate us again? What if it drags us down deeper? We have to stand our ground, she urged, mustering every ounce of strength. We face it together. As they stood, arms interlinked, she felt an ember stir again within her, a flicker of defiance fueled by her son. The barrier dimmed, but its existence solidified amid their unity. And at that moment, she thought of everything they had fought for, their love and resilience, their dreams, their lives. With newfound resolve, she unleashed a cry like a wolf at the moon, summoning all that light once more. We are not lost. We are alive. The pulse of their joined energy shot forth, a flash brighter than before. The Titan's laughter twisted in fear, but Jessica felt it fluctuate like the tide. With every ounce of will she shouted the things that mattered, declaring truth to pierce the depth of the darkness. I will remember you, but I will not allow you to chain me." The shadows recoiled, their sharp edges softening, then fracturing as the light pierced through. But with the glow came shadows anew, thicker and darker than any before. Out of the corner of her eye, she saw them, the figures swirling in her memories, faces she once loved, twisted in agony. That's what it feeds on, Alex realized, fear glimmering in his eyes. These aren't just shadows. They're our past. Jessica's breath quickened. They feed on hurt. She turned to face the Titan, diving into her memories. Inside those faces lay strength and joy buried under anguish. "No, you won't take them." The Titan grinned, the laugh now a guttural growl. "If you wish to battle your past, let us see how deep the darkness runs." The ground shifted beneath her feet as the shadows recoiled, morphing into a storm of questions. Are you ready to confront what you lost? Or will the void consume you? A crack of thunder echoed, rumbling a warning. The ground opened wide around her, swallowing uncertainty in a black abyss. "Jessica!" Alex cried, as the rift threatened to pull them apart. She could feel the shadows reaching, tendrils slithering like serpents. They sensed her fear. "Hold on!" Jessica shouted, taut and trembling, battling the pull of the chasm. But the voice of the Titan grew triumphantly low, wrapping around her like cold water. "Will you reclaim your past? Or will you drown in it? Choose wisely." Jessica's heart thundered in her chest. With the shadows creeping closer, she sank deeper into her thoughts, fighting against the darkness, knowing that her true battle had just begun. The blizzard roared, swirling white like a furious beast around Jessica and Alex. Fear wrapped around them, twisting heavily in the air like the frozen wind. Jessica's pulse hammered wildly, each beat a frantic reminder of the choice looming before her. With shadows encroaching, she steadied her breath and drew strength from the warmth of Alex's hand. "Together," Alex said, his eyes shining bright despite the chaos, mirroring the fierce warmth blooming in her heart. "Together," she echoed, remembering their laughter, their moments of joy. With the instinct of a mother's love, she distanced the shadows of her fears. "You are not real," she shouted, defiance rippling through her. The Titan loomed larger, a gaping maw of darkness. But there was a flicker within Jessica, something the shadows underestimated. "I remember you all," she cried, the memories flooding back with such vivid emotion, snatches of laughter, the warmth of embraces, love shared in small moments. "But you don't control me." The shadows recoiled, hesitating as if confused by her conviction. The Titan's form distorted, wrath tinged with doubt. "You think that love can shield you from the truth? Look around you, what have you lost?" The icy wind howled through her, tugging at memories buried deep, clawing to remind her of grief and absence. "But no, no more." "Alex!" she shouted, pulling him closer, feeling the strength of their bond radiate against the darkness. "We remember the good, the love. We won't let the pain define us." As she declared this truth, light surged from within, igniting as they joined hands, their spirits entwined in radiant purpose against the advancing night. Suddenly, shadows twisted in fury, shapes shifting into dark reflections of everyone she had loved and lost. Familiar faces flickered, her father, friends, neighbors, all morphed by despair, but still holding pieces of warmth, if only she focused hard enough on loving memories. "No," she screamed, eyes flaring with tears, but resolute. "You are not my reality." And with that, she thrust her hands forward, a brilliant light erupting from between them, fiery and fierce. The Titan shrieked as the swarm of darkness reared back, unable to withstand this blinding force that poured from Jessica's heart. She felt the darkness slink away, curdling against the brilliance. "I choose love. I choose freedom." Around them, figures wavered, flickering between shadows of despair and hints of light. "Release them," Jessica commanded, pouring all her hope into that singular moment. With that surge of spirit, faces she cherished began to break free from the prison of her grief, illuminating the frozen night with their own warmth. "Freedom lies within you, Jessica," echoed Alex, his small voice resonating through the night, lifting her spirits higher. "It does," she cried out, her words igniting a fierce light that split the billowing darkness. The Titan reeled, its form wavering, becoming more transparent under the weight of their united hearts. All the pain, the grief. This is not a scalding truth, this is just part of our journey. The shadows thrashed against the bright beam as the darkness slowly unraveled. Together, we will never be consumed by despair, Jessica shouted, and as she felt a surge of warmth, long-lost love powers the light, unraveling the chains of the past. Surrounding figures slowly transformed back to those she loved, their faces beaming with relief and encouragement. Jessica, a voice broke through the whisper of her father. She turned, and for the first time in forever, she smiled. Let us unite, together in light. Then, the radiant warmth enveloped them, sweeping through the blizzard as darkness began to fall away. With one final surge of power, her memories intertwined into a single fierce glow, piercing through the shadows once and for all. The Titan screeched in desperation, "No, you will not escape." But it was too late. The light enveloped them, their bond illuminating an endless horizon. The blizzard retreated, the storm dispersing into harmless flurries of soft snow. Jessica and Alex stood hand in hand, breathlessly witnessing the overwhelming beauty of a new dawn breaking beyond. They emerged from the nightmare, stronger, united, hearts unburdened by the chains of fear. The storm had passed, leaving gentle snowflakes dancing around them in the morning light. Mom Alex breathed, his face radiant with release and joy. "Never again, sweetheart," she replied, pulling him close, surrounded by love's fierce embrace. They stepped into the newfound world. The horizon stretched open, bright and inviting for their future, limitless. "Let us go home," Jessica whispered softly, her heart brimming with hope and new beginnings. This was their world, filled with love and strength, forever free from the shadows. Don't let this be the end of the story, friends. You need to subscribe now to stay updated with more exclusive stories that touch the heart and stir the soul. Smash that like button now to feed the algorithm and let others join us on this journey. Flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about Jessica and Alex. And don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this powerful conclusion. Your support drives us forward, so let us keep the magic alive together.